Hey, Dr. John Finn here. Welcome to the Habit Mechanic podcast. Right now, you can get my new best-selling book, Train Your Brain for the AI Revolution, at tougherminds.co.uk. The digital book, audiobook, and physical book are all available at a special price that you won't find anywhere else.
Hello, Habit Mechanics. Dr. John Finn here. I hope you're having a fantastic week so far. Here is our latest webinar talking you through how you can go from being replaceable to irreplaceable to unstoppable in the AI era in 3 simple steps. And the good news is you can do it all without tech skills. Enjoy.
Well, thank you so much to everyone for being so punctual. I hope you're having a great January so far, and I'm really excited to talk about how we can all go from being replaceable to irreplaceable and unstoppable in this new AI era that I think we're in now, but it's going to escalate quickly. I want to talk about some big themes within this new AI era and where we might fit in. But I also want to give you some simple and practical things that you can do. So we're going to talk through a simple 3-step process. In case we haven't met before, let me just quickly introduce myself and my colleague who's also on the call. So first of all, we're joined today by Andrew Foster. Andrew's our head of coaching. You may have met him before, and Andrew's going to be facilitating the Q&A today. So if you do have any questions as we go through, then do pop them in the Q&A and we will pick them up. And we're also going to be asking you about your thoughts on certain things as we go through. In case we haven't met before, my name's Dr. John Finn. I've worked in the fields of resilience, performance psychology, leadership, change management for 25 years now. I've got 3 degrees in these areas, including a PhD, and I've worked with about 20,000 people. I'm also the best-selling author of the Habit Mechanic book. I founded Habit Mechanic University. And these are the types of organizations that we work with. So a real broad range, going from big corporates into education, into elite sport. What I'd like to understand, so this is where I'm going to ask you to do some work, is what compelled you to turn up today, and where are you at with AI tools? So are you not using tools yet? Are you feeling overwhelmed by tools? Are you getting some big wins with these AI tools? Or is it something else? So it'd be great if you could share in the chat, where are you at with these things? And that just gives us a sense of where to take this this talk and to make sure that we get everything covered off. And if you want to share those, Andrew, as they come in, that would be useful.
Lovely. So we've got some coming in here. Jesse says big wins. Anonymous user says using AI frequently on a daily basis. Dawn, some wins, some losses. Looking at how much I can get done using AI. Alan says using Chat GPT on a regular basis. George says he's beginning to get some wins from AI. Great stuff. Anonymous attendee saying that not currently using, wanting to understand how they can. Brandon says starting to dabble bit over, a little bit overwhelmed, which we're hearing a fair bit. Threena's used for writing. Who else we got here? Rumi. I hope I'm pronouncing your first name correctly. Saying using Chat GPT, quite familiar with it, but Phil could know and learn more. Finn, Doctor Finn Brewer saying getting big wins. Paula, I'm using it mostly for writing, but I know there's a world of more, a world more of capabilities. So yeah, we've got a lot of comments coming in.
Yeah, so that's really interesting to hear, and I think it mirrors with this bandwidth of options that I see. Some people are getting some wins and almost surprising themselves about how powerful these tools are. Some people are feeling overwhelmed by the amount of new AI assistants that keep getting offered, and some are not using anything yet. So hopefully what we cover today will help everyone on this spectrum. So let's start by thinking about the current AI landscape, where it's at. So in 2024, there was about $184 billion invested into AI. And what is predicted is that by 2030, so in 5 years' time, there will be over 826 billion invested. So I think that's just a mirror to how quickly this is going to go. It's going to go really quickly. And just in 2025 alone, AI is predicted to impact 128 million jobs globally. Doesn't mean it's going to replace those jobs. It just means they're going to be impacted. And we'll look at some of the detail around that. So what's happening? Essentially, for the first time in history, the biggest companies on the planet are all focused on the same thing. And that is winning the AI race. And that's why it's not going to stop. There is just so much being invested into this, and these companies have staked so much, they're going to get their return on investment. And we can see that the marketing around this is starting to become more aggressive. So this is a recent article from The Information, which is talking about how Microsoft now, they are openly saying, use AI and you're going to be spending less on humans. That's been uncomfortable, I think, for businesses to say up until this point. But again, these businesses are investing so much into these technologies, they need businesses to buy it and to start adopting it and scaling it across their own businesses. These are all new stories from the last few weeks, and almost these stories appear on a weekly basis. So this data is from the World Economics Forum Future of Jobs report that we're going to go into a bit of detail today. So it's saying 41% of companies worldwide plan to reduce workforces by 2030 due to AI. We can see some really local examples of this. So on Wall Street, this is a new article that came out again a couple of weeks ago, projecting that probably 200,000 jobs on Wall Street will be replaced by AI. And let's think about, well, what's actually happening here? So this is a paper by a company, a very well-regarded sales training company called Winning by Design. Winning by Design they work with about 25% of the world's publicly listed SaaS companies, software as a service companies including Uber Eats and Adobe and Calendly. They're very forward-thinking and highly regarded people, and I always listen to what they're saying. This is a paper they released recently. The title, as you can read for yourself, says, in 2025, AI won't just assist people, it will replace them. And what I really like about the detail here is it unpacks. In this transformation will enable companies to operate their go-to-market function. So when businesses are taking a new product to market at approximately 2% of current costs. So not 50%, not 40%, not 30%, 2% of current costs. So, and it's broken down into a per hour understanding. So instead of paying teams of humans between $90 to $900 an hour to do that work, they can pay AI between $2 to $20 per hour. And so that's what's going on. But it's not about replacing humans entirely. And this is really helpful to think about yourself in this way. What's the title of your job? So in simple terms, I'm a performance consultant. What's your job? What title? What is it? And what we need to understand is that AI can't replace everything that I do as a performance consultant, but it can replace to a lot of the tasks that I complete. So what we need to start thinking about is not our jobs being replaced, but which tasks that we perform every day can be replaced. And a simple way we're going to think about the tasks that we complete every day is we're going to break them into what we think of as low-powered, medium-charge work. We think of that as freezing ice cubes. So things we can do fairly mindlessly, fairly easily, and also the kind of tasks that take a lot of brain power. And we think of that as building ice sculptures. Now, AI can assist with both of these types of work, but it can't replace everything that we do. So that's the way to start thinking about AI. And we're going to build on this metaphor as we go through. This is a very high level understanding of what businesses are planning to do, global businesses, in relation to embedding AI across their organizations. And what you see on this map, this graph, is how businesses are going to be using both the ice cube freezing technologies, which is called automation. So a really simple example here is that I use a tool called Calendly to book my meetings, and I'm sure many of you do the same. We use web forms for people to book on webinars like this. That's automating tasks that then we don't have to spend our brain power dealing with. And then the other type of process that AI is going to be used for, and is increasingly being used for, and some people have described it before, is to augment how we build our ice sculptures. Someone said that they're using AI to help them to write. So whatever you're writing, whether it's a paper, a book, a report, think of that as an ice sculpture. And instead of you having to do all that with your own brain power, you're outsourcing some of that brain power to help you to build the ice sculpture. And different businesses are going to use different combinations of these two broad ways of embedding AI into the business. The ice cube piece can almost completely replace humans, but the ice sculpture piece is more defendable, and we're going to need humans to co-work with AI to do that, to continue to do that kind of work. This is the World Economic Forum's new report that came out, I think, 2 weeks ago. It's a 300-page report about the future of jobs and how AI is going to impact how we work in the immediate and slightly longer term future, so up until about 2030. Don't worry, you don't have to read the full 300 pages. I've done it for you. Here are the headlines, the things that got my attention. So one is that nearly 90% of the businesses, these are global businesses that contributed to this report, said that they expect AI will transform. That's a really important word, transform their business in the next 5 years. Not have a little bit of impact or have a big impact. It's going to transform their business. So that's key to understand. The next thing that I find interesting is that organizations recognize that in order to do this, they're going to need people who can maintain high performance whilst adapting to constant technological change. So they're going to need people who are resilient, who can adapt, who are creative problem solvers. So we're not going to replace every single human with AI. That's not going to happen. We still need humans, but we need humans who can maintain high performance whilst dealing with this new flux of tech that's coming into how we work. And what the tech looks like today will keep changing at a faster rate than we've probably ever seen before. Here's a really interesting thing. Businesses are recognizing that around 63% of their workforce are going to need to augment their way they work by co-working with AI, like many people talked about using ChatGPT. This is going to become part of how we work. So we can outsource some of that high charge, ice sculpture building brain power to the AI. And that's going to allow us to move faster. So around 63% of the global workforce is going to be working with AI essentially. And that means that we've got to get good at optimizing how humans and AI work together. And that's quite complicated to do. Another interesting thing, businesses only feel that maybe currently what they're going to need to deliver this transformation, that only about 29% of their workforce is up to that right now, and that 70% of businesses are already actively recruiting people who they think have the skills, have the psychological abilities, have the self-management abilities to actually operate in this new AI era. So what does that mean for you and me? It means there are mega opportunities. Businesses are going to have to train up around 756 million people who can thrive working alongside AI in the next 5 years if they're going to deliver this transformation. So that's a huge new opportunity. And this is not just about technical skills. And I think people are getting caught up in this, a new prompt, a new tool. The bigger part of this challenge is actually optimizing ourselves and optimizing how other humans are able to work alongside AI. The tools are very, very sophisticated. They're almost like driving an automatic car. We don't really need tech skills to work with a lot of this AI. It's the way it's designed. But what we need is to be able to bring our best self to our role every day so that we can get the most out of it. And this is what the opportunity, I think, opens up and is exciting. So businesses are going to need human AI ready professionals. That is people that can bring their best self to work every day with optimized brain state so they can get the most out of these new technologies that are at their fingertips. So if you're working in a company, this is a great opportunity for you to be ready for when those AI tools come online, or as they increasingly come online, so that you can thrive, you can get the next promotion, you can get into that new role that you want to get into. So I think that's a great opportunity for anybody working in a business. Businesses are also going to need what I'm going to call human AI ready leaders. Leaders who can not only manage humans, but can manage humans that are working with AI. And it's almost like a team of humans and AI that we're going to have to start getting good at managing. AI is like a new species almost that has landed on our planet that we have to work with and work out how to get the most out of. We're also going to need human AI ready learning and development professionals so that they can support the people above them on that list, that the leaders and the other professionals working in their organizations. And then this is the big role that we're currently focusing on, which is L&D professionals and businesses are going to need human AI optimization coaches and consultants. And we've already started training people to become human AI optimization coaches using our proprietary methodologies. So this is mega opportunities for people. So for me, I see AI as an opportunity that can actually deliver the kind of life that we're all chasing, which is good balance, where we do more meaningful work. We feel like we're learning and we're growing, but we're also able to have the downtime that we need to recover and to spend time with our families and all that good stuff that we want to do. So that's the landscape. What we've created, so we've been looking at this AI piece for years now, literally. We've been thinking about what it is, what it means for our own business, how it's going to impact other people's businesses. And behind the scenes, we've developed what we call the Habit Mechanic AI Edge system. So this system is designed to help teams and organizations build cultures that make it really easy for humans and AI to work together. And we've developed leadership training for C-suite so they can actually understand how to create the culture that makes it easy for everyone to be at their best more often in this new AI world. We've created team training so that team leaders understand how to manage teams of humans and AI and get the most out of them. And we've also created individual level habit mechanic training so that individuals understand how to manage their own behaviors and their own habits and automate the best habits that will allow them to thrive. And we've actually structured that into a belt system like Six Sigma, so that there's a progression that people can go along. And I want to dive today into the habit mechanic piece and show you some really simple practical things that you can be doing so that you can start to get ahead of this, and that when the increasing opportunities come to be a leader in AI, whether it's in your own little niche or in another way, you've already got a bit of a competitive advantage. So to start us on this journey, we're going to put a little self-assessment together. This is called the Human AI Readiness Brain State Assessment. And I want to share this with you so you can access it. Now, we had a slight technical problem earlier. So this, what you're going to see is actually called, it's got a slightly different title on it, but it's the same self-assessment that we use to measure brain states and however we're measuring brain states. So let me put this in the chat for you. So this is a really simple self-assessment. But if I share my screen now, I'll show you how to get it done. You're going to end up with a score. And this is what you'll see on the screen. So if you just press take the peak cognitive performance assessment, it'll load a pop-up. And then there are 15 statements that you give yourself a score on. So I sleep poorly and it takes me longer to complete my work to a high standard. If you always do that, you give yourself a 10. If you never do that, you give yourself a 1. You're probably somewhere in between. And you'll get to the end and you'll get a score out of 150. So that's all that you need to do. And I want you to make a note of the score that you've got. The score auto-populates in this box. It's as simple as that. There are no right or wrong answers. It's just what you think right now. And then we want to get a score. That's what we're working towards. And if you want to share your score in the Q&A, you're welcome to. But I appreciate you might not want to. So we got Thrina is a habit mechanic. Georgia, 59. So make a note of your score so you've got it. And we're going to come back to it later and really unpack what does that mean. So I hope that's got you thinking. And I think what it's really easy to do with all this talk of new technology, AI, is focus too much on the technology. The technology cannot work without us. And inside of our schools, we have the most sophisticated technology in the known universe. It's called your brain. And it's really important to understand this because we don't normally think in these terms. Your brain runs you and it runs your life, but it's encased in a skull. You never see it. Brains run the team that you work in. Brains run your family. Brains run the organization that you work in. So it's really important to do this. If we're going to thrive in the AI world, we need to get our brains working really well. And the problem we face right now is that probably in any time in human history, our brains are working worse than they ever have done. Because it's more difficult to eat well, to sleep well, to exercise properly. We're overwhelmed with information, with stress. So brains in general are not working particularly well. When our brains are working well, we're having a good night's sleep, we're rested, we feel good, right? But when they're not, life is really difficult. And this is not just an individual thing. As I said, it's a team thing as well. So you're working in a team. The whole power of a team is that you can communicate and collaborate and solve problems faster than you otherwise would have done. But if just one brain in your team is not working well, it stops the team performing properly because it inhibits communication and collaboration. And we can see very specifically that it's becoming easier and easier for people to develop what we call destructive habits. Things like beating ourselves up too much, worrying too much, procrastinating, getting stressed. And the way our brains work is that they're made up of about 100 billion neurons. Those neurons are changing all the time in accordance with how we practice. And thinking is a form of practice. So if you practice worrying and beating yourself up all the time, you grow more neurobiological connections for worrying and beating yourself up, and you get better at that, and you spend more time doing that. And a really simple way to think about every 24-hour period that we all exist in every day is it's like a barcode. There are times in the 24 hours where we are doing and thinking things that are helping us to be at our best. They're the blue lines. But there are also times in the 24-hour period where we are thinking and doing things that get in the way of us being at our best. They're the red lines. Now, the blue lines include things like poor quality sleep, not eating well, not exercising properly. Sorry, these are the red lines I'm explaining. Let me start again. The blue lines include things like good quality sleep, eating well, exercising properly, managing stress well, being focused and productive, integrating new AI tools into our workflows. The red lines are the opposite: poor quality sleep, not managing stress well, ignoring the fact that AI is coming and it is going to massively impact our lives. The data is very clear on this. So if you look at the NHS, they're saying that in 15 years' time, 1 in 5 people living in the UK will have a long-term major illness, ranging from cancer to dementia to anxiety to depression. This is all because our brains are being, the way that I think about it, invisibly damaged. We can see that in the UK right now, we've got over 20,000 people a month being signed up on the sick with things like anxiety and depression. We predict that it's costing our economy over 300 billion a year. 300 billion a year. That's about twice as much as we spend on education, nearly 3 times as much as we spend on defense. And these numbers are going to get bigger and bigger if we don't do something differently. And of course, they're not going to allow us to deliver what's needed in the AI world. It looks the same in the US. So in the US, about 23% of adults have some sort of mental health diagnosis. We can see that if our brains are not working well, we earn less money, significantly less money. Again, this will be exaggerated in the fully flourished AI world. So it's harder than ever to get your brain working well. The data is very, very clear. This is not just a short-term problem. If your brain's not working very well today, we become more susceptible to these really horrible long-term illnesses. This is real, and it's happening in front of our eyes. So it's getting harder than ever to get your brain working well. We understand that. Now we've got AI. We've got this new almost species landing on our planet that has this huge promise for helping us to do better. But what we're seeing right now, and some people reported this when we asked earlier, is that we've got this really interesting thing going on. Senior leaders in businesses expect, and this is a recent BBC in-depth report, they expect, so 96% of top execs said they expect AI tools to increase productivity. Yet 77% of employees are saying that the AI tools decrease their productivity. So we've got a real problem going on. And that's because we're trying to get people to learn these new skills when their brains are not working very well. So instead of the AI tools becoming a blue line in your 24 hours, they become a red line, and they make it more difficult to be at our best. So that's where we're currently at. That's what the data shows us. So metaphorically, this is the way I'm thinking about this. For many, many people, we know where we want to get to, but getting there is really, really difficult. So we can see the top of the mountain, but it's like we're trudging in deep snow to get there. And it feels like we're not making any progress forwards. And for many people, the AI tools are slowing them down further. But what I want to show you today is a way to start combining your best brain states with new AI tools. So it's like you're on a snowmobile. Your brain is working well, and the snowmobile is like the AI tools. And if you're here, you are replaceable. It sounds brutal, but it's real. You are replaceable because the AI can do what you're currently doing. If you're here, you are irreplaceable. And in fact, if you get to here, you get really sophisticated, you are flying and you are unstoppable. And we know through the work we've done with human beings over a long time now that everyone can get closer to this position. And I want to help you to get there. So at this point, and I've spoken quite a lot there, I just want to take a breather myself and just answer, I suppose, any burning questions that we've got on, and also give Andrew an opportunity to come in just to see what he's observing regarding the things that I've been speaking about, because Andrew's working with people every day in this space. So if you have any questions, put those into the Q&A and we will answer them. And Andrew, what's this getting you thinking about?
I know when I'm working with people, and I work with people around the world, work with people in all sorts of different industries, sectors. There is a range of responses to AI. There's some people do, some people do have a bit of an ostrich response, and they sometimes they identify, the fact that they're
I mean,
even
they put their head in their sand, just
exactly, yeah. So their instinct is to just hope it goes away, and as has already been discussed, we know it's not going away. At the other end of the spectrum, we've got some people who are increasingly, and I work with some really high performing people. They they're making their mistakes. They're having their ups and downs, but they are increasingly learning from these mistakes. And like you said, John, the technology is designed to be intuitive. Learning using AI is perhaps quicker than it has been with any previous technological advancement. And so these people are seeing the amount of value that they can get out of a day increased quite dramatically. And some of those people are using that to mean that they can do even more work. Some of those people are using that so they can actually stop work and be the one who picks their kids up from school or nursery, or that they have more time for their own sort of leisure pursuits and things like that. It's really exciting seeing how that's going. I can see there's some questions coming in. Helen Spedding just asked, could you perhaps expand a bit on how AI is damaging at present, John?
well, the data is showing that people say it's overwhelming them. They're feeling stressed. So that damages your brain. And when you're in heightened states of stress for too long, your brain gets damaged. And it's like when you fall over and you bang your knee on the floor, your knee gets inflamed and it gets bruised. That's the equivalent of what's happening to our brains. We just can't see it. So that's why people have brain fog. It's why they don't feel very well. There's this invisible brain damage going on all of the time. And on top of that, what we're putting into our bodies, ultra processed food, causing more damage. So it's just more stress, more not feeling like I'm moving forwards, more overload, worse sleep. Our brains are not recovering. So that's what it's doing ultimately.
We've got it's more a comment than a question from an anonymous attendee saying, "I found your commentary around human AI ready around leadership outstanding and pertinent." So that's great. Thank you for that. And Mohammed says, as a question, which is, how do we take advantage of the AI revolution practically? Is it about taking courses, etc.?
Yeah, and we're going to dig into that, and we're going to give you some free training for how we have personally been experimenting how to really optimize our own brains with AI. And I'm going to show you an example, a concrete, completely real example of how we managed to do something over 200% faster by using optimized brain states plus AI. So these are real examples, and I'm going to show you exactly what to do. So we'll come on to that. Should we go forwards then? So thanks for those questions. They're really good. And I hope this is getting you thinking. I just love this space. And I think for us, as people that came from elite sport, we saw the sports science revolution firsthand. That's how many of us started our professional careers. And if you're into rugby union, you will remember a guy called Clive Woodward and the England rugby union team that won the World Cup in 2023, a long time ago. They were described as the All Blacks as the White Orcs because they had taken advanced insights from sports science and they had embedded them into their physical development. If you're into soccer or football, you may know of a guy called Arsene Wenger who did the same with the Arsenal football team, who became coined as the Invincibles because he used sports science to develop their physical conditioning to such a level that they had a huge competitive advantage. Nobody actually beat them in a season. AI and these new AI tools, for me, are the psychological equivalent of that, and they are at everybody's fingertips. But we will not get the most out of them unless we first optimize the most powerful technology in the universe, which is our brains. So this is really exciting for us, and I think that metaphor is really strong. So here's the problem we have. So we might recognize, yeah, I get, I don't feel great all the time, and I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, and my brain state profile score wasn't so great. Where we've been signposted to get help are two core areas. So we look for tips, tricks, hacks. How do I manage stress better? How do I get more sleep? How can I be more productive? And it turns out the tips, tricks, hacks are not very effective at changing our behavior because we don't do what we know we should do, as we'll come on to. The second area, and the thing that's touted as almost a magic bullet for helping us to get better at being at our best, is talk therapy. CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, is seen as the gold standard of the gold standard. But turns out this isn't very effective. And it's nothing to do with the therapists. It's to do with the models they've been trained on. Big, compelling sets of data. So this is a study. You can go look it up if you want. This study analysed 52,000 people that had been in structured CBT interventions. And it showed that the CBT could only help 1 in 5 people actually change their behaviour in the way they wanted to change it. CBT was the tool that I got taught across my 3 core degrees, and I quickly found in the field that it wasn't very effective at changing behaviour. So the things that were given to help us to do better don't actually work very effectively. And they don't work very effectively because they're built on a basic premise that's faulty. And that premise says that if we can get people to know what they need to do to be at their best, whether that's eat 5 portions of fruit and vegetables a day, or walk 10,000 steps, or not speak so negatively to themselves, then they'll be able to do it. But it turns out that's not true. We do things every day that we know we shouldn't do. Because we don't do what we know we should do, we do it in the habit of doing. Now, the reason these frameworks that we are the dominant ways of helping people are built on are faulty is because they're based on what we call black box models. They're theoretical frameworks that were designed before we understood how brains actually worked. So they don't consider how brains function, how brains change, how brains fundamentally operate. And that's why they don't work, because brains don't run on logical, conscientious processes. They run predominantly on automatic, semi-automatic processes because they're designed to conserve energy. So that's why these orthodox methods that we're trying to use to help us to do better are failing us. And that's why so many people are sick. The second reason they don't work is because they might be good at getting people to understand what they need to do, but also they're very poor at using insights from behavioral science to actually change behavior. So we know there are 9 factors that change people's behavior, and the traditional approaches at best probably activate about 2 of those. So that's why so many people are not doing well, because even if they're go to get support, the support often fails them. This is where our work comes in over the last 25 years, is that we've created a methodology called the habit mechanics system that is based on cutting edge insights from neuroscience, brain maturation science, evolutionary science, behavioral science. And we've coupled those insights into simple practical training programs that help people to become what we call habit mechanics. And we do that in a simple 3-step process. And I'm going to talk you step by step through this process today. But we've built on that foundation in the last 12 months or so to innovate our AI edge system. So we've taken everything that we've created around becoming a habit mechanic and we've plugged it in to helping people to optimize how they utilize this new AI technology. So we've got a really robust solution to help people that are looking for help in this space, and that's really exciting. So we're going to talk and dig into this now. The key to thriving in the AI world, just as it was in the old world, is not simply knowing what to do, it's building new habits. So if you're trudging through the snow like this, you probably know what you need to be doing differently, but you're not able to do it. So what we want to help people to do is not just know what to do, but to build the habits so that they can actually capitalize on these new AI technologies and get to the top of the mountain faster. So we want to help people to move from knowing to doing to habit so they can move from being replaceable to irreplaceable to unstoppable. And we need to take a few moments to recognize just how powerful habits are in our lives, because the pop psychology completely undersells this. If you read people's work like Daniel Kahneman, Thinking Fast and Slow, and George Lakoff, who's the Don't Think of a White Elephant guy, these are preeminent professors in their field. They've spent their life studying this stuff, and they show very clearly that most of what is going on for us right now, what we're thinking and what we're doing, is automatic or semi-automatic. And we can see very clearly that at least 98% of it is automatic or semi-automatic. That means that for every 50 processes running in your brain right now, at least 49 are running on autopilot or semi-autopilot. So that's where we get the 98% figure from, because our brains are designed to conserve energy, so it makes complete sense. So even our belief systems are driven by semi-automatic, automatic processes. We have this tiny bit of consciousness. Often we're running on 100% autopilot. Let's demonstrate this now with a quick test. So I just want you to simply read out the copy in the white rectangle, white lozenge. Just read it to yourself. So we can make complete sense of these jumble words because reading is not a conscious, logical thing. It's a habit. We understand what certain words look like, and we're just really taking pictures of them. So as long as a few letters in the right place, we can make sense because reading is mainly habit. Another one, I'm going to show you another slide for 3 seconds. I want you to read the copy on the slide. Here we go. So most people got a bird in the bush. But if we go back to it, we see it's not a bird in the bush, it's a bird in the bush. Again, our brain recognizes the pattern and takes a shortcut to saying, well, oh, I know what that is. It's a bird in the bush. So I'm going to save energy in terms of looking at it in any more detail than that. So what is going on all the time for us is more automatic than it is conscious, significantly more. So we are running on habits. And if we want to get the most out of AI in our own lives, professionally, personally, if we want to get the most out of AI in our teams, in our organizations, this has to be the starting point understanding, is that it's not about getting our people to get better at optimizing the way they work with AI. It's about actually helping our people to develop the habits that will allow them to optimize their work with the way they work with AI. And it's a subtle but a really important difference. So we need to focus our thinking on helping ourselves and the people we're working with to build better automatic ways of thinking and doing, which we call super habits. Now, when you did this assessment, you were actually analyzing your habits. We have much more in-depth habit assessments that we can use, but this is a really good starting point. And what you were really looking at was, what helpful things am I doing every day that help me to be at my best? But also, which unhelpful things am I doing every day that make it more difficult for me to be at my best? Or in other words, we were looking at a high level, where are the red lines for me and where are the blue lines? So we've already started to think about ourselves in this way, and we can go further. So we're going to think about our brains and brain states specifically. Now, in reality, our brains are running on electricity and neurotransmitters, but I don't want to get into this level of detail in this session today. I want to stay at quite a high level. So let's think about our brains as being like rechargeable batteries. And they literally are. They run on chemicals and electricity. So in every 24-hour period, we only have so much brain charge. It's limited. And we can think about our brain, our battery brain, as operating in three core charge states. So one state is recharge. So in every 24-hour period, we need to spend some time recharging. That can include sleep, but also non-sleep recharge activities. So every 24 hours, we need to spend some time doing that. The second brain state we have is a medium charge brain state. Now, this is the brain state we use to freeze the ice cubes that we introduced earlier, to do our routine medium charge jobs. And what we need to recognize here is that AI is becoming increasingly sophisticated at automatically doing our ice cube tasks. So if we go back to the idea of the tasks that we complete every day, some of those are ice cube tasks. And I gave an example before about I don't book meetings with people manual anymore, going back and forth over email. Does this time work for you? No. Does this time work for you? We just use a tool called Calendly. And that's an AI tool that automates an ice cube freezing task. We also use Loom. Loom auto transcribes things for us. So already you're probably using some AI tools to automate the freezing of some of your ice cubes. Now, what the World Economic Forum report shows is that some businesses are actually seeing an opportunity to almost fully automate most of what their people spend their time doing in terms of ice cube freezing jobs every day. But likelihood is that, right now, you're going to have to freeze some ice cubes. That's medium charge work. The final brain state is what we call high charge work. So we can do high charge work on ourselves, and high charge work is high value, high impact work, doing our most mentally complex thinking. We can do some of that work at work. We also do that kind of work on ourselves. And the chances are, if you set off on the 1st of January with a New Year's resolution to build a new behavior, change something, if you failed, it's because you haven't been able to dedicate enough high charge, high impact work onto that thing yet, like improving your sleep or managing what you eat and your exercise levels, or being more focused and productive, or managing stress better, because we need high charge brain states to help us to change our behavior. And we think of this as building ice sculptures. So I've just written a new book called The Human AI Coach. That's like an ice sculpture that I had to build up. And you've got lots of ice sculpture projects that you're currently working on. And we need our high charge brain state to do this kind of work. Now, what we need to recognize is that high charge brain states are a scarce cognitive resource that are limited, and they deplete quickly and easily. So we only have so much high charge brain state every single day. And what's really exciting is that more advanced AI tools can actually allow us to outsource some of our high charge brain state work. And this is what companies mean when they're saying we want to get our humans, and in fact, we want to get 63% of our humans augmenting their high charge brain state work with AI so they can build eye sculptures faster. So we can actually start to outsource some of our high charge work to AI and actually probably also do high charge work when we're maybe not quite neurobiologically in the right brain state, but we won't go there right now. So I hope that makes sense. You've got these 3 brain states, and then what we've learned, we've worked with over 20,000 people now. So people are operating medium charge, recharge, medium charge, high charge brain states. But when they're really nailing it, when they've got optimized brain states so they can really fly up the mountain on their snowmobile, their brain state profile looks a bit like this in every 24-hour period. So of the 3 brain states, we call this the arrowhead profile. And a couple of people had this profile when they measured their brain states, because I saw it in the Q&A. They've got a foundation of recharge in every 24-hour period. They've got really solid foundations, both sleep and non-sleep. And then they've got this medium charge activities that they're doing, both at work and at home. And then that means that they're able to unlock maybe 4 to 5 hours of high charge every single day or every single work day. And if we want to thrive in the AI world, this is what we need to work towards. We can put some numbers on this. These are average numbers. So people in this arrowhead brain state profile might be spending 10, 11, 12 hours recharging in every 24-hour period, especially when they're working hard. That includes good quality sleep, but also rest and relaxation. Also includes some forms of exercise. It includes eating, relaxing, that kind of stuff. And then they might build on that about 7 hours of medium charge activities, tasks in their day. And then that means that they're able to do 4, 5 hours of high charge thinking and doing. And we call this unlocking the 25-hour brain. And what's really exciting is we can use AI to offload some of our medium charge work onto, so it frees up more capacity for high charge, but we can also work with the AI to extend our high charge work. And what I'm seeing is that we can actually, if we get good at using the AI tools, especially the generative AI tools, we can actually start to do maybe even 6 hours of high charge work per day. That is a massive competitive advantage. But this is not the reality for most people. Most people are here. They're just jumbling all their brain states together. When they think they're switching off and relaxing, they're actually doom scrolling and getting stressed unbeknown. So they're in the medium charge brain state. When they think they're doing high charge, they're actually multitasking. They're checking their email, then their phone, and back to the task. And then there's another ping here from another thing. So they're not actually doing high charge, high focus, high value work. They're doing medium charge work. And this is the danger. And this is the typical brain state profile that we see. So if you've scored maybe between, I think, 91 and 150, this is what your brain state probably looks like, profile looks like. It's dominated by the medium charge brain state. And this is a problem for 2 reasons. It's a recipe for poor brain health. And your brain health affects everything that you do every day. And also, it means most of what you spend your time doing every day is already easily replaceable by AI. So if you are here, you are replaceable. But it's okay because we can improve. We want to get moving this direction so we're unstoppable. And this is the work that we do, is we help people to move from one end of the continuum to the other end of the continuum. And we like to focus that in 30-day blocks. So that's what we're going to think about for the rest of the webinars. I'm going to show you over the next 30 days how you can start to move from wherever you are to a better brain state profile. And I'm going to give you the tools so you can keep building on that. Before we do that, so what are the 3 brain states? If you haven't written them down already, have a go at writing them down. What are the 3 brain states? if we're going to optimize our brain states, it's good to know what the three things are, the three zones we're trying to get into. So if you didn't get them already, we got recharge, medium charge, and high charge. You got it right. 10 points, well done. Before we go forwards, there's probably some questions that we're going to answer, I suppose, as we go forwards here. But are there any thoughts, questions, reflections, Andrew, from yourself on this, or anything, any sort of burning questions that have come into the Q&A that you think we should
There's
answer?
quite a few questions in the Q&A. So Andy says, how do you feel about 30-day AI challenges? So that precluded what that preceded, I should say, right, what you were just saying then. Um,
I'm not
George,
actually sure what a 30-day AI challenge is, but I think anything like that is you've got to make your own assessment. Is it helpful for you? Is it unhelpful for you? So yeah, I'm not entirely sure what that means. Is it maybe learning a new tool in 30 days or something? But yeah, sorry, I interrupted you.
George was saying, I can see AI managing lots of communications and interactions. Gives me more time to work, but will it miss opportunities?
Yeah, well, humans miss opportunities, don't they? And yeah, it will, and it's not perfect, is it? But it's going to get more and more powerful. So we've certainly used AI to do that for us for a number of years now. And it's become more and more sophisticated, and it isn't perfect, but it's about getting that balance between, I suppose, volume and quality, and that's where we need the human, I think, to intervene. But it's good. I'm glad that people are starting to think in these ways. The most obvious place to use AI is to replace your ice cube freezing tasks. But we can also start to use it to build ice sculptures, which we're going to talk more about.
Serena said, what are some examples of daily habits that I might practice to improve my behavior, relationship with AI after I've improved my end of the equation through brain state optimization?
Yeah, well, I'd look back through your score and your scores and look for where are the holes. So if it's poor sleep, I need to develop some better sleep management habits. If it's being overwhelmed and stressed, I need to develop some better stress management habits. So they will give us general pointers to where to go, which is a good starting point.
I mean, one thing that I was thinking in terms of, a lot of us feel very time poor. Certainly, a lot of the people I'm working with initially would say, "Well, I don't get any, I barely get any recharge time. Like that isn't an area where I can improve." But then after a little while working, I mean, one thing that I often like sort of inquire about, it seems to chime a great deal, is that people find themselves so them at one end of the sofa, their partner or spouse at the other end of the sofa. There's something on the television, and neither are watching it properly. They've got their phone in their hands, scrolling, and if that is a familiar image, if that's a familiar experience, people I work with are now dropping out that time. They're saying, right, we will only watch television when we've actually got something that we're excited to watch rather than just sticking something on. And the other days of the week, we're going to go for a walk, or we're going to just sit in the kitchen and have a cup of tea and talk. And they're reporting far better recharge because they're consciously, deliberately building better habits for using, even if it is quite a limited amount of time, better habits that are paying them back day after day, week after week.
Yeah, and what we learn, Andrew, isn't it, as people go on this journey, is that people become more aware of those red lines. And what we're often unaware of is we've been addicted to technology. We've been
Mm.
addicted to unhelpful ways of sleeping. We've been addicted to unhelpful ways of eating. But we don't recognize that until we take a step back and really think about it and notice how we keep reaching for our phone, how we keep reaching for that thing to put in our mouth, how we keep reaching for the next stimulation, this always on medium charge brain state, that is what's damaging our brain. Always on, always on, always on, not putting the right things into it, not caring for it properly. But we just don't think in these terms. So I hope this is starting to get people thinking. I know there's plenty of people on the call who are quite a long way on this journey already.
We've had a few more questions come in while we were dealing with those last ones, but I don't know if you think we've got time to deal with those now or.
Let's come back to those at the end because
Sure.
I want to make sure we get through enough time for questions. So let's get practical then. We've already started this journey. So I talked about a 3-step process. This is our most basic 3-step coaching cycle. And our first goal is to help people to coach themselves, to become their own expert self-coaches, and in the world we now live in, to become their own expert human AI optimization self-coaches. It starts by more intelligent self-watching. That's this one. We've started to do that by completing the self-assessment and just by thinking about ourselves. Where are my brain states currently? So we've done that bit. Next, we're going to start to think about, well, what could I start to do differently to help me to be at my best? And this brings us back to the role, your role versus the tasks that you complete every day. Tasks are not just what you do at work. It's sleeping well. It's exercising properly. It's managing stress well. It's everything that you do in a 24-hour period. So what I'd like to do is just spend a few minutes starting to think about, well, what tasks do you need to complete in the next 30 days? Both your ice cube freezing jobs that you need to get done. I'll keep using the word tasks. I don't want to confuse roles, tasks, etc. So the ice cube freezing task you need to get done, sort of fairly easy, standard work, but you just need to get it done. And then the same with the building ice sculptures. Which ice sculptures are you working on at the moment that you're trying to build up and that you're going to have to get done or make big progress on in the next 30 days? Here's an example to get you going. And notice what I've also done here is once I've listed the different ice sculptures and ice cubes, I've given them a priority score. So I know what's the main priority, what's the top priority, what's the second, what's the third. And then I've also said approximately how long is this thing going to take me? Because then I can look ahead to how much time I actually have over the next 30 days. And I can start to get a sense of why do I need to prioritize that time. So over to you. Don't think this is interesting. Do it. Even if you just get a couple of ice cubes down and a couple of ice sculptures down that you want to work on, because you will get more benefit. So this is the starting point. If we want to get more control over our lives, we've got to get better at being aware of what do we need to work on. By thinking in these terms, it's going to help us to move away from the idea that an AI-generated robot is going to come into our lives and do everything for us. It isn't. But there are lots of AI tools out there that can do lots of these things. Certainly for the ice cubes, can automatically do things. And then for the ice sculptures, there are lots of AI tools we can use to make it easier to get things done that we're working on. I'm going to give you a concrete example of that very shortly. So by getting things out of our habit brain, just written down, prioritized, time detailed in terms of how long things will approximately take, we'll automatically start to get more control over it. This is a high charge activity that we're doing now. So maybe if you don't do this type of thing already, this is a nice sculpture you want to start to build. So you can start to get more control over the things that you want to get done, both at work and in your life more generally. So I know people will need different amounts of time to do this well. So if you've made a start, which everyone should have done, that's great. I'm going to move forwards. So here's a real example of the power that we've seen with AI using an example of us creating an audiobook. So I have written a new book. It's called The Human AI Coach. Everyone on this call will give you free access to this in the coming weeks. It will be an audio first book, and then the physical book will come out later. But we've had experience of creating an audio book before the new AI tools existed. So we created the Habit Mechanic audiobook a few years ago. So we know what time it took. We know what resources we had to invest into it. We knew what tasks needed to be completed. We didn't outsource this thing. We did it ourselves. So the new book we've written is shorter than The Habit Mechanic, but for the equivalent length in The Habit Mechanic, it took us about 10 days to create that part of the audiobook. Audiobooks are quite complicated to do well, and we wanted to do it really well. So that was before AI tools, and it actually took 2 people to do that. With AI, it took, this is real. I'm not making this up. It's not some abstract example. It's real. We've done it. It took 3 days. So we were able to create an audiobook 233.3% faster by optimizing our brain states and optimizing new AI tools. So that is the potential of this technology. It gets you there faster and cheaper. And that's why it's going to be unstoppable in terms of it being rolled out. And this is a way that I like to think about how we're all working. And I think what AI has allowed us to do, if we look at traditional ways of measuring productivity, and I'm actually part of the Productivity Institute, I'm a member of that group. It's a UK government think tank, and it's trying to work out how do we make the UK more productive. And it's very blunt in the way it measures output, I think, because the measurement tools we use are almost from a factory model, where if you turn up at the factory for 8 hours, you pretty much did 8 hours worth of output. Now we have more desk-based jobs and our work is more cognitive. It's much harder to measure productivity. But I think our brain states and AI is making it easier for us to measure value. So forget productivity, think about value. Think about the value that you add to your life, to your work every day. If your work operating in medium charge brain states, you're doing low value work. And we know it's low value because we can get AI to do a lot of it much cheaper than you. Remember the winning by design stat that probably in the next 12 to 18 months, businesses will be able to go to market with their new products at 2% of the costs that it used to take. So that's a 98% saving. And if you're currently walking up the mountain, your brain state's in a mess, you're struggling, you'll be doing a minimal amount of high charge work every day, if any. So you're walking. When you get on the snowmobile and you figure this out, what you're able to do, I'd say as a minimal, is what we're learning, is twice the amount of high charge work every single day. So whatever mentally complex thing you're trying to do, you can do it 200% faster, twice as fast. So that is the opportunity for people who get ahead of this curve. And there's no magic to it. It starts by optimizing your brain states and then just testing and experimenting with the new AI tools that are available and learning how to optimize them into your current workflows. So this is really exciting, and we are seeing this in our own work every single day, where we're able to move things forward so much faster than we've ever been able to do. And those tools are available to everybody. So we can build ice sculptures faster. And this is the work that humans will continue to be needed to do, is to build the ice sculptures. And that's great because that's the sort of work that's rewarding, that makes us feel like we're growing, we're learning, we're moving ourselves forwards. And we can automate more of the medium charge stuff. So that's exciting. So step 3 here is, in this example, is we're just mapping out, well, what are the ice cube tasks that we want to be achieving in the next 30 days or so? And what are the ice sculpture tasks that we want to be building on or building up? And then step 3 is in order to get this stuff done, we need to get better at building habits that allow us to be more efficient and effective with both building our ice sculptures and getting our ice cubes frozen. In order to do that, we need to stop these factors that are blocking our progress, we need to unblock those factors. And I'm not going to get into how you do that on this call. What we've done instead, and this is absolutely free, we've created a little course inside of our app, the Habit Mechanic University app, that will first of all allow you to connect your 30-day goals to your bigger, more meaningful goals using a tool called the FAM story. Really, really powerful, tried and tested. Then you'll learn how to use a tool called the willpower story, which is a daily tool to help you to get the most out of every 24-hour period. So you can start to plot your brain states out and your ice cubes and your ice sculptures every day and optimize the way that you're working. You'll also start to learn about the deeper level of understanding of brain states, which we call activation levels. So you start to get more of a concrete understanding of what activation level do I need to be in to do my high charge work? What activation level do I need to be in to do my recharge work? And then finally, we'll show you step by step how to get all those 9 factors working for you, because you can create habit building plans. This is all inside the Habit Mechanic University app, completely free. Just do the onboarding course, and you will learn how to get all of this stuff working for you so you can start to optimize your brain states. So you can go ahead and do that. This opportunity is seismic. We've never seen an opportunity like this before. This is the industrial revolution on steroids. I was just speaking to Andrew about this before, because Andrew and I both grew up in a place called Bradford. Bradford is one of the heartlands of the industrial revolution. And we were saying, imagine what Bradford was like before all these factories were built. And think of what it looks like, what it looked like 100 years ago when they were all built and the industrial revolution was in its boom. This is what's going to start to happen in a less obviously visible way with AI. It's going to radically change our lives. The tech is here, the investment is there, and there will be winners and losers in this. And all you need to do to be a winner is work on your brain states, work on those, what you'll learn to call super habits and super habit routines, so that you can be at your best every day. You can get a much better work-life balance, and you can actually do much more rewarding work that makes you feel like you're learning and you're growing and you're moving forwards. And, we want to work with people and help them to do that, so that you can move from being replaceable to irreplaceable, but most excitingly, unstoppable. And I think we can achieve things that we never dreamt possible before we had this technology. So we're not trying to sell you anything on this webinar. We're just really interested in your interest in this topic. So if you're interested, if you're a senior leader and you're thinking, oh, this would be really great to start to embed into my organization, let's have a conversation and we'll talk you through about how we would approach that. If you're a team, or you're running maybe a smaller business and you're thinking, it'd be great to get my team upskilled in this, let's have a conversation and we can explain how we could help you to do that. And if you're an individual and you think this is really good, but I don't want to go through a self-taught course, let's have a conversation and we can talk to you about how we can coach you to do that. Also, we're actually training people how to deliver our methodology. So as I mentioned before, we're training people how to coach others to optimize the way that their brains work and the way they work with AI. So we're training people to become certified habit mechanic AI edge coaches. And we're going to train people all the way up to become consultants, so that you can go into businesses and start to service some of those 750 million people that need this support that doesn't currently exist, because the current training approaches out there do not do this. They're not fit for purpose. So if you want to have a chat, I've cleared some time in my diary next week. I'll pop this link in the chat, so that if you want to speak and explore this further one-to-one, I'm happy to do that and talk you through maybe some of the solutions that I think would be helpful for you. If you think we've covered a lot today and you want to go deeper, that's why we wrote the Habit Mechanic book. So it covers our program end to end, including how to build new habits from individual level to team level to leadership level. You can access the app, and I'll give you the link to do that very shortly. So you can access that free training program. We have a podcast if you're not aware, and this goes deeper into all the things I've been speaking about today. Our latest podcast was actually about AI, and we're going to really focus on this now going forwards. So yeah, that's my personal email address if you want to reach out. So what I'd like to do now is, I know we have some questions already. So let me just share a few links so people can go get the free training, and also if they want to speak to me, they can. So first of all, if you want to speak, if you want to have a chat, if you want to explore this stuff further, then you can book a call here directly. That's a direct link into my calendar. And then secondly, in order to get access to the free training, just go to our homepage, toughminds.co.uk. So I've put that link in the chat as well. You can download the app for free, and you can do the onboarding course completely free, and it covers all those elements, and it will help you to start moving forwards and improving your brain states. I've said a lot there, Andrew, so I'm going to hand it over to you just to go through any questions or
Sure.
Finish anything up that you wanted to cover before we wrap things up.
Yeah, there's a few questions here. Mohammed says high charge states usually in the morning. Is this a myth?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I'd say that it's an individual thing. It depends how well you sleep, for example. So what the most important thing is that you recognize, high charge states, okay, and just start to notice it. And when you go and do that course I just mentioned, it'll take you about half an hour to work through it. You'll start to see the activation levels and how they play a role. And you can actually start to map out your activation levels and therefore your brain state levels across an entire day. And what you might learn is where your natural high charge brain states are, maybe going into the evening, and not where you want them to be, because you want to be switching off and relaxing then, so that you can get up in the morning after a good night's sleep and then do your high charge state work. So it's very individual, and the key is just to do some personal research, and that will give you a better sense of what it looks like for you currently and whether that's helpful or not.
Jeremy says, can you give more examples of ice cube activities? Although I think you might have covered that a little in the since he asked the question. One thought I had there was that something that seems to chime with people is if people were at university, think about when were people's rooms the tidiest, and very often it was exam term, that people find things that need doing but don't necessarily need doing right now, certainly not in in your high charge state. And so it's worth looking at your schedule, at your day, and like John said, prioritizing the things that that most need you at your best to do them, and be looking to do those other things at a time of day where you might not be at your sharpest, but you don't need to be for that activity.
Yeah, and what is an ice cube for me might be an ice sculpture for someone else. So what we're actually doing by building the ice sculptures often is we're turning those activities more into ice cubes. So it basically means it's something that doesn't take a great deal of brain power. So you don't have to use your prefrontal cortex very much, if at all. And it's what our brain likes to do, but that stuff can be easily automated. It is being easily automated, and that automation is being scaled out now at a pace that is going to take a lot of people by surprise. And that's where a lot of jobs are going to be replaced, human jobs, is because they're just doing ice cubes all day, and the AI can do that much cheaper. But hopefully, Jeremy, by reflecting on your tasks, you've identified some. And again, if you go into that onboarding course, you'll be able to dig deeper.
Craig says, I use AI to work on basic tasks when I'm procrastinating, reflecting, and developing projects. I find that procrastinating and dreaming is part of my recharge process, and it aids creativity. But would you agree?
Well, it depends what you define as procrastination and dreaming. So that's the challenge, isn't it? Is that what I say is procrastination, it might be different to what you say is procrastination. So you're going along the right lines there. You're starting to think about it. Well, what is helpful for me? What isn't helpful for me? And only you can be the judge of that. And if you want to be at your best, then you're going to work out a solution to get that balance right. So yeah, but I think what we need to start to do is be really purposeful. So if that is recharge time, where I'm very deliberately closing down my prefrontal cortex, whereas where insight emerges, then I can be more efficient and effective in doing that. So I know that for me to do recharge, I need to be at least a 20 on the activation dial. So therefore, when I'm trying to do recharge, I am aiming to be 20 or less, and I can start to use some focus words and pictures and some habit mechanic tools to help me to do that, like focus breathing and focus reflection. So there's so many levels to what we're speaking about here.
One of the people I was working with on Monday was saying about how when they go for a run, it's when their thoughts, the way he put it was, it's when my thoughts tend to fall into the right buckets. And so then we were discussing, well, how can we purposefully plan in running as a means of creating that time for reflection, creating that time for our thoughts to end up in the right place, and how can we get that into the schedule in a way that's habitual, and that seemed quite a productive line to take as well.
And also, running could be technically, it could be high charge, it could be medium charge, or it could be recharge. If you're training really hard and you're using all your conscious effort to run harder so you can run faster and develop your body so you can get better time at the marathon, that's a high charge task. If you're just plodding along in the morning, maybe it's cold and it's a bit horrible and you're having to put a bit of effort in, maybe that might be a medium charge. You can also do very, very light exercise, which some might call running, which is more of a recharge activity. So there are levels of sophistication here in this approach that you don't see anywhere else, but you've got to figure out what it looks like in your own life.
Farina says, do you consider end of day reflections to be high charge work?
I think it's going towards that. Yeah, it's going towards that. And how high charge it is depends on how much effort you put into it. But that's a great example of using high charge to give yourself a better chance of doing recharge. Because by doing the high charge, you're processing out sort of stresses faster, and therefore it's easier to reduce your activation levels and then sleep well, etc. So yeah, I'd say it's consciously effortful, so it is a high charge activity. Maybe not the highest of high charge, but.
And Abraham has two difficulties that he's identified. He said one is where you're battling with the code. It seems to be okay, you're debugging and running, but it doesn't give the desired outcome. That consumes a lot of my time, and how best can I handle it? And he goes on, also my days always occupied with lectures and classes from morning to evening. And do we have any recommendations for him?
Yeah, well, I think we need to be careful not to fall into quick tips and tricks because they're what change your behavior. So my recommendation is go through the onboarding course, take the time, go deep. And what you're going to learn is that if you're in your high charge brain states when you're coding, then you're going to be able to do it more efficiently and effectively. And the founder of NVIDIA now says no one actually needs to learn how to code anymore because their technology can do it. So also looking to use AI. Well, let me rewind. Nowhere near as many people need to learn how to code as we thought even last year, because the AI can literally do it for us, and we've seen that in our own business. But if you're in a high charge brain state, you'll make less mistakes. You'll do it faster. Do the onboarding course is what I would recommend, and then you'll get a better sense of how it looks for you. Well, I think we've come to the end of the piece there. So again, if you want to speak about this, how this might look, how the habit mechanic AI system might look in your world, let's have a conversation. when our new book comes out, we'll make that available. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. I hope that's been insightful. And I found it really rewarding just to even put this stuff together. So yeah, thank you. And let's speak soon. And thank you, Andrew. We really appreciate your time. Enjoy the rest of the day. I hope you get some recharge. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Habit Mechanic podcast. If you liked it, please subscribe and tell someone else about one of the ideas or insights that you found most interesting.